Hey there. Thanks for tuning in. You ready for another episode of my Bigfoot sighting? Alright then, let's do this.
Seen a bunch of rundown no-horse towns where the church is the backbone, love's in the plow, and the five-string melodies grooving, with the farmland rows where the roots run deep, beyond the noise of the busy streets, where the songs of the South are soothing. When I hear the front porch picking down, home rhythm ringing out, I don't run from banjo music. Yeah.
My Bigfoot sighting started at the ripe age of 14, so that would be exactly 10 years ago as of this year. And what I didn't know then, but I've come to know now, and as I will soon explain, the first encounter actually led to my full acceptance into what is an actual tribe of Sasquatch that people tend to think are just animals, but they're not. But at 14, I was out back in the blackberry bushes, about 50 yards behind the house. And at the time, I had my first service dog, Shadow. And we were back there having a good old time picking blackberries, eating most of them, but we did try to save some. And then off to my east, into what was called the big woods of the neighbors, I heard two tree knocks. At the time, I had seen the Finding Bigfoot shows, so I knew what a tree knock was. Me being 14 and dumb, picked up a stick and let an old cedar stump have it with two big knocks. Well, another two knocks came from the east. Then one came from the west. And then two came from the south. And all I could take that as was, well, I'm here. Where are y'all? My knock started. One over to the west. Well, I'm here. One to the south. Well, I'm over here. Then I heard the knocks again to the east. And you could almost tell it was like, well, then who the heck is to the north? Not even 5 minutes go by, and I could hear it in the thicket behind the blackberry bushes. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Stopping about 10 feet away from me. Now, I mean, it's thicker than thick back in there, and you can't see nothing. But I could tell by the hairs on the back of my neck that there was something staring at me. Well, I kid you not, when I say me and the dog hightailed it out of there, we hightailed it out of there. So I'm sitting there texting my best friend, calling her on the phone. Oh my God, I swear there's a Bigfoot over here, man. I did a tree knock and it's coming after me. And I just don't know what's going on. She's all freaking out because she's seen them too. And she's all, I guess, happy. I'm not, because this thing's a little too close for comfort. So I make a run back to the house, taking the long route through our 5-acre field. And that was about all that, had happened there for a while. Well, that all changed the hunting season of 2018 in December. What happened in December would make most people quit hunting. For me, it just made me stay out of one particular spread of woods. So this is approximately the 6th of December. We are out of rifle season, but before muzzleloader. My mom's horse had just been put down the day before, and I went out hunting, going in the woods to take my mind off of it, because Romeo was a good old boy. So I go off onto my neighbor's property. We're getting a little desperate for meat. It was hard times, and we were running out. So I get up in that property, and I hit that deer trail. It was an overcast day, rather cloudy. It was about 4 in the afternoon, and the wind was kind of gusting through the popples. So I'm weaseling my way up this hillside, going up this pine trail, this little deer trail, hoping maybe, I'll catch one on the way down. I got the wind in my face. Life's all good. Now, the gear I'm carrying is a crossbow that goes 300 and I believe it's 15 feet per second. So 315 FPS. Ain't bad for a crossbow, but it ain't good. So we're weaseling up this hill, and I'm getting to the top of the track, and I finally get up to this top clearing right in front of a big grand of pines. And something just tells me, A, I'm in trouble, and B, I need to look to my right. So I look to my right, and the first thing I see is a wall of brown. Stand up, turn around, start walking away, and another mass going right in front of it. Now, it took me a hot minute to realize what I just seen, but what I saw is exactly as I'm now going to tell you. I saw a 12-foot tall male Sasquatch. And when I say he is built to the hilt, I mean built to the hilt. Take a 55-gallon drum, put a bunch of fur on it, and give it legs. And that's the big one. That's who I now call Big Chief. The second mass was more of a blonde. Just as big. Now that I look back on it, she was probably pregnant. About 10-foot tall female. Neither one were happy that I was there. Both had me dead to rights at 15 feet. Not 15 yards. 15 feet. That's a little too close, if you want to ask most people. So I'm freaking out. Okay, I've got two over 1,000-pound animals sitting there, walking away from me. And I got a crossbow that fires one shot at a time with a 165-pound drawback that I can't pull back unless I have the rope pull, which I left at home. And now I gotta get out of here. Okay, well, I can run back down the deer trail and probably break my leg over the deadfall. Well, then I'm just dead anyway. Or I can cut through these very dark pines in which way these animals had just moved. Pardon me, I just said animals even though they are not. So I went through these pines and I went absolutely stealthy. I went military style, man. Absolutely. Watching my 6, watching my front, keeping a look to my 9 and 3. And I get out to the power line. Now, normally, I'd take that power line back up to the house. It's a good quarter of a mile walk. But something told me that if I take the power line, I was going to be dead. So I went the extra 50 feet to the road. And I climbed to that far side of the road. And I walked that embankment with my bow pointed right at them woods. I was scared to death. Then I had to round the corner and walk the other quarter of a mile back home and get back in the house. Now, normally, Mama would know that when I go out hunting, I'm not back till dark. Well, it is now 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's nowhere near dark. I come in. I put the bow back in its case. I sit down. And I'm white as a sheet. You all right, honey? What'd you see? I didn't see nothing. And I just ignored every question she wanted to throw at me. Now, that encounter shook me up to the point where I didn't want to hunt for a while. So about a week later, I'm sitting there in my own house, in my kitchen, with my mom, and we're talking. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning. I look up to see the female Sasquatch walk 5 feet in front of our front door. And at this time, my other shepherd, Smokey, is outside in the kennel, pushed up as far against the wall as he can get, staring, scared out of his wits. My mom asked me, "Did something just go in front of the door?" "Yeah." "You know what it was?" "Yeah, Mama, but I'd rather not say." "Oh, it was a Bigfoot, wasn't it?" "Ha, yeah, okay." Because at the time, I didn't tell my mom about anything. She wasn't a believer in Sasquatch just yet. So I didn't tell her what it was, and she's rabbing me because, I saw Bigfoot. Well, I didn't deny it, and I didn't agree. So a little bit of time passes, and a couple of months go by, and I came clean to my mom about what had happened and what I saw. She got to thinking about it, And she says, no, thinking back on it, you did act a little bit funny that day. So I finally got my mama to understand what was going on. Now we're back into the February time period of about 2019. 2020, not 2019. 2019 was actually a relatively quiet year for me, thank God. 2020 kicks in February, and a lot of my friends who came over, they were reporting seeing shadows darting everywhere across the road. So we're back into, we're in February, and me being me, I decide to go camping out by the field with our horses. I figured, it's a warm February. I'm going to go camping. So I'm out there, and it's just one of them off nights. When you're sitting at home and all of a sudden you kind of get that hair in the back of your neck feeling like, just something's really off outside. Well, I'm out there in the tent, and it's about 1:00 in the morning. And down the road by the corner, I hear, and then nothing. 15 minutes later comes by, a little bit closer. And finally, the third and final whistle I heard was across the street from my tent at about 30 yards. And what really got my attention was I heard a stick crack. That was too close. Me and the dog lit out of that tent, shotgun in hand, and we were running for the house. I was not hanging around. Something was coming up through there, and there's only one thing I know that whistles and can crack a stick. So the next morning, I go out there to about where I thought I heard it. Lo and behold, I found the stick dead center of a 16-inch track. So now I'm freaked out, man. I'm just like, oh my God, I've got a footprint of a Squatch, and it is here, and it was that close, and I could have died. That's what's going through my mind. Knowing now, no, there wasn't no danger. So give it about another month. Now we're in March, and I'm out target practicing with a 22 because I want to go squirrel hunt. So I'm shooting, and finally I just give up because my scope's off and the iron sights are bad, and I had enough. So I'm getting ready to walk back to the house, and I have this feeling, look over your left shoulder. And I look. And this is the first time that I've ever seen the face of these things, but it has not been the last. Standing 8 feet up in the trees, in between these pines, is this black face looking at me. Now, there's no mistaking what it was. It had the conical top of the head. You could see the brow ridge with the dark brown eyes. You get to the nose, it's a little bit flatter, kind of like a African American's nose, where it's kind of pushed in. But then right below it, you get a little bit of gray around the mouth and down the chin. There's a big gap between the nose and the mouth, as often is reported. And he's just standing there, and you can see his shoulders through them trees. Them pines ain't hiding him very well. And I look, and it scared the daylights out of me. So I said, okay, I'm going to the house. So I go up to the house, and I say, hey, Mama, there's a Squatch back there in the trees. And he kind of looked at me a little funny. He says, well, I know your one cousin's been coming over. Has she been making you feel off? And I said, yeah, she's just around all the time, and I'm just feeling off. Well, maybe that's why they're coming around, kid. Yeah, Mama, you probably got a point. So time goes through, and we get into the summer of last year, about May or June. And I'm sitting there with my mama on the deck, and she's always going on about how she wanted to see one of these things. I just want to see one. I want to know. And I told her, Mom, you don't realize how big these things are until you see them. Well, I still would like to see them. Man, I just kind of wonder, maybe they're across the street looking at me. And I said, well, I know for a fact they're across the street looking at us because I'm looking right at one right now. Same face that I saw in March. I said, Mom, he's back. What? Where? So I show my mama, and she starts to flip out. And I said, okay, Mama, don't panic. But there's another one. This one was not black. The second one was a chocolate brown, lower to the ground, and had a chocolate brown and lighter brown face, identical to the first one, but set lower. I said, Mama, there's a second one right there. So that encounter I actually got to share with my mom, and she got to see her first ever Sasquatch. She saw 2 of them that day. And they were probably about 30 yards from where we were standing. So this is where I'm kind of thinking, and I've realized now that there's a much bigger tribe in the area than I originally thought. Because about 2 weeks later, I'm going to do chores, and it's about 5, 6 o'clock at night, and I'm going out with my hay wagon, and it squeaks something god awful. And we still use it. But I'm going down the road to get to the back side of the pen, and I look over, and there it is. This little blonde Sasquatch, about 5 feet tall, just looking at me. So I look at it, it's looking at me, probably thinking it's hiding or something. And I do a up nod, like, what's up? And I just keep going. I've gotten so used to these guys around that it's like, oh yeah, okay, well, you're over there. Howdy ho, good neighbor. And this thing, his eyes get about as big as saucepans, drops its mouth, turns around, and hightails it. Well, I could only imagine what the conversation was that it had with his mama. It probably said, Mama, I saw that funny looking thing that they're always saying they always see. Mama, it was weird looking. You could hear it now. So I'm sitting there thinking, oh, cool. You know, that's the first really small one that I've ever seen. But had I known then what I know now, I would have known that they're actually a lot smaller when they're really little. Because not even 2 days later, that blonde-colored mama that I had seen on the encounter in 2018 was standing 5 feet from the horse pen when I was out doing chores in the morning. And when I say that she was holding the cutest little thing I've ever seen, I mean it. This thing was probably about the size of an average human toddler. And it was brown. About the same color as my mama, or as its mama. And they're just sitting there staring at me. So I stare, I kind of look at them a little bit, and then I go back to doing my chores, and about 5 minutes later, I look back, and it's gone. Well, after about that, the actual physical sightings kind of went down, but we've heard the hoops and the hollers. We've heard the wood knocking, and we've heard them moving around. And they actually came around the house as soon as we started building our new house. They started coming around and wandering around. Now, like I said in the beginning, these things are a tribe. These are people. I am a quarter Navajo. I'm also 1/16 White Mountain Apache and 1/16 Ojibwe. The Anishinaabe culture calls these the Masabe, which means the guardians of the water. Most tribes will call them the Big Brothers. And that is what I refer to these guys as. Now, I didn't know it then, but I've had these things bluff charge me out of the woods before. I've come back a few days later, and standing right over top of my track is a bear track. I've had a couple where there was coyote tracks across it. I even had one where there was a mountain lion track right into my step. So these things shooed me out of an area to keep me away from large predators. Now, if they don't give a rep about you, they ain't going to do that. But if they actually care, and a lot of these ones will, and they do, especially if they've gotten to know you and watch you grow up. They watched me grow up out in these woods running around like a yahoo since I was really little. And I have a good rapport with them. No, I do not gift. I do not feed them. If anything, if I know there's a bad storm coming in, that's going to be coming in later in the day, I'll go to what we have as a designated meeting place, and I'll let them know what's coming in or what the weather's going to end up doing. And if anything, we exchange crystallized stones, the stones, the quartz crystals, and other really cool crystals. We will exchange those. I'll set one down, and I'll come back a few days later, and the one that I put down is gone, but a different one has been set down. It's an exchange. I'm a rock hound. They like their crystals, and it's just kind of a happy thing. I can count on them if I need them. I know without a shadow of a doubt. If I came into some trouble around here and I was loud enough, I'd have them here, no problem. So those are my Bigfoot sightings, my Bigfoot encounters. And people just need to be aware. Not all of them are good. There are some that are not good. Not all will be friendly. I have been fortunate enough to have the friendly ones around me. Are they friendly to everybody? No. But they seem to like me and my family. And hey, that's just fine with me. So those are my encounters, and I'm sure I'll have more. And I look forward to the rest of these encounters that I'll have throughout my lifetime.
Well, that's it for tonight's show. If you've had a Bigfoot sighting and would like to be a guest, please go to mybigfootsighting.com and let us know. Thanks for listening. Have a great night.
Seen a bunch of rundown no-horse towns where the church is the backbone, loves and the plow, and the five-string melodies grooving, with the farmland rows where the roots run deep, beyond the noise of the busy streets, where the songs of the South are soothing. When I hear the front porch picking down, home rhythm ringing out, I don't run from banjo music. Yeah.